welcome back to the Win with Dice podcast, a podcast featuring members of the Win with Dice team. I'm Calvin, and I'm once again joined here by Cam and Deanna. Say hello.
Hi. Hello.
Hi. So this here is a pod. Well, I mean, let me first catch up with you two before I go into all the official podcast stuff. What have you been up to in the last? I think it's been a couple of weeks since we recorded that episode together.
Existing.
Well,
That is the bare minimum, yes.
Yes.
I've just been doing school stuff. That's pretty much it. I'm graduating really soon, and it's terrifying.
Oh yeah, a lot of pressure for that. But once you're done, then I'm gonna soak up all your free time. I hope you know.
Yeah.
Or at least I plan to.
That's okay. That sounds fun.
All right. Well, this here is a podcast that's all about sort of, running tabletop RPG games, trying to make it seem easier to run them, I should say. Just to make DMing seem a little less obfuscated by confusion and complication, and just, make it seem as easy as possible. So that's what we are going to roll into this week. We're going to try building a one-shot and see how that goes. But before we get to that, we have to do the Win with Dice weekly DM tip, which again, I totally did not prepare for. So I don't know. What do you two think you have a piece of advice that you think a DM would find useful, having not DM'd before?
Well, I mean, for me, like last time we talked a bit about Matt Mercer and having the fear that, you're not going to be as good as him. But I think it's important to just try anyways, because you don't have to be like him. Not everyone's going to be like him. And that's not the only way to be a good DM either, so...
Yeah, exactly.
Have fun with it.
There's a lot of people online that I think are, great as far as DMs go. You really don't want to, just aim to be the second someone else. It's cool to take, advice and tips and style and thing like that from other people, but when you get to the point that you're just trying to be that person, that's maybe when you're overshooting a bit. Cam, do you have anything to add to that, or anything you think might be helpful advice?
Well, it's important to keep your players happy, but my mistake was just I wanted to keep everybody happy, and the whole storyline and plot just went all over the place, because
Yeah, actually,
balance.
maybe we could delve into that a bit, Cam, if you want to talk a bit more about because it sounds like you did run something at some point?
Yeah, Didi was there. It was Callowit, people we met.
Yeah, we met them on a meetup group.
Yeah.
I think.
Okay. Well, sure. Actually, let's delve into that story for a bit. Let's talk about that a bit, I guess. Well, what were you running? What was the story you were trying to do, or I don't know what was the game first off?
It was I had no system on it. I just wanted to do this thing that I talked about, that social experiment before I knew it was called social work. If you have a bunch of privileges that you were born with, how well will you do in a post-apocalyptic world?
Sure.
That's what I wanted.
Mm-hmm.
But then it turned into this it's none of it.
Yeah.
It's none of it, and everyone's living in water, underwater, above water, because it was climate change related as well, right?
Okay.
Yeah, so the only livable place was Nunavut, and I had this idea of getting some kind of passports to access the good places to live, and this guy's no, let's not make it all about that. I'm all right, okay.
Oh,
it was pretty much I was trying to keep this one person happy, and then.
But then you weren't happy.
And I wasn't happy, and then at the end of the day, I'm you know what? This is pretty much your game now. I'm giving this to you.
Yeah, understandable. So you had the idea and the concept that you came in with, but someone else just didn't want to roll with it, or they didn't like it, or they didn't feel comfortable with it, or something like that?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
Then... Yeah, so I can see that definitely going sideways, where you're just sometimes trying to appeal to the loudest voice in the group, and then you end up sort of not doing what you want. And I know it's a very important thing to try to appeal to the people who are playing your game, because you're all trying to have fun together, but you do at the same time have to make it fun for yourself as well. I think that might be something that's more for the players end. Just try to respond to what your DM is trying to put out there instead of just taking things and you can take things and veer them off in random directions. That is just like the nature of being a player. But I think it's very obvious where you're like clearly delineating from what someone wants to do and then just like saying, no, I don't want to do that. And then just taking the whole game away from them. Okay, well, I think that's useful. That's a good weekly DM tip of the week. Hopefully people get something out of that. But I guess what we wanted to try this week was just building a very small, very simple one-shot. So this is something that I wanted to do for a bit. Way back of some earlier episodes, me and Ramon put together like this very basic setting. So I kind of want to go back to that sort of thing and just make a recording of like the brainstorming of GMing. So for the purposes of this, what I wanted to do was have something very low level, maybe a single dungeon with a handful of rooms, some traps, maybe a puzzle or two if you feel up for coming up with a puzzle. And then some...
That sounds really cool.
Ooh.
And then some sort of conclusive battle. So I guess let's just get right into planning this. So first off, how should we start this? Because we're assuming for the purposes of planning this, we don't have the players yet. So this is the outline of like the first session. And then from that point, we may get into like, obviously if you got your player information in and they had like characters with certain backstories and things, and you knew that you wanted to have a certain session within a certain part of your setting, you might be able to like weave those things in. But we're starting from the position of, well, you don't have that player information yet. So what is the first session going to entail? So I think by merit of not having the player characters, we should start thinking up what kind of bad guys these players would face. Which are essentially the non-player characters. They're the GM characters. So this being a low-level thing, they could be something like goblins, like kobolds, just some very basic undead. I wanted to throw it towards you two and see sort of what kind of thing would you want to throw at like a low-level party? What are some minor enemies? You don't need like the stats or anything right now. I'm not too worried about that. Just like, what's something minor you think a party could face?
Well, I like goblins, but I still want to like reframe that goblins could be the good guys. So,
but then they're the bad guys in this case, so
okay.
Maybe not.
Well, maybe we could work that in somehow if you want to go with that.
You want to fight goblins? They're always the bad guy. I feel bad for them.
So is there some way we could work in goblins being the good guys, or could it maybe be a reversal on the typical session story where instead of goblins attacking a town, it's someone else attacking goblins, or along the way the players realize, oh, the goblins are the bad guys here, or something like that?
Like someone's attacking the goblins.
Like what if the players go into this dungeon thinking that these goblins are like the bad guys or something, but like really they're just living their lives in their cave or whatever.
Yeah. And then the players turn out being like the bad people because these guys are just living in their houses, and the players just like raiding someone's home or something.
Sure, they could have made a home in some old dungeon or tomb or something like that, some old structure. And maybe along the way the players realize, oh, the goblins are just trying to live out here.
Yeah.
And maybe what happened earlier in a town was a misunderstanding or something like that.
Yeah. And then like when you're looting something, you're actually realizing that you stole those things.
Sure, we could definitely do something like that. The way I don't want to insert myself too much of this because I really wanted you two to have the brunt of it, which is so far so good. But I'm kind of thinking like there could be a couple ways that this ends, where one is just the players plow through, or if they take their time to stop and investigate things, they might learn a bit more.
I like that.
Yeah, true.
That's how I kind of would approach this sort of thing. Like I would have the option there of like, if you want to stop and learn, I'll throw some story at you. But if you just want to plow through an army of bad guys, that's here too. But if you want to slow down and just like see what else is going on, that information is available. Okay, so players are tasked with dealing with this sort of goblin hideout. They don't know right away that the goblins have their own sort of motivations and ideas and things like that. So let's start at the beginning then. the players are, where are they? Are they in a town? Are they in I don't know, big city, small village? What kind of setting are you imagining for the introduction of this session?
Well, I'm imagining it's kind of like a very basic, typical thing, but I don't know, they're in like a small town, I guess, that doesn't have like an army or whatever to go take care of stuff like this, and they need to hire whoever's willing to take it on to deal with their goblin problem.
Yeah. I mean, it doesn't have to be like a very... It can be a straightforward idea. I don't want you to feel uncomfortable with that. We can put little twists on it, little details, like, hey, we're raiding this, we're going into this goblin cave, but the goblins have their own, the goblins might be the good guys here. So yeah, let's start with a small town. You don't have to worry about that being too, I mean, I don't know, most of my things have started off in small towns. Now that I think about it, so... Okay, so we've got a small town. I don't know, do you want to name it right now, or...
I feel like I might want to use it. Like, I don't know, how do you go about naming towns? I feel like I would just use a name generator or something.
That's what I do too. Unless I have some sort of specific idea in mind. Like there was like a coastal city that I had, and I was like, oh, well, I know this is gonna be full of knights. I'll just call it Knight's Edge because it's on the edge and it's full of knights. Blah blah blah. And other places like Valor Rest or something like that, I think was one of them. It was like, I have a bunch of places that are full of knights, so it's like, what's sort of like knightly valorous thing? But most of the time I do kind of rely on those name generators, not gonna lie. They're very good for just like throwing a bunch of ideas at you, and then it might be like, well, I like this part of this name, I like this part of this name. Maybe I can combine the two. Do a quick Google search to make sure it's not trademarked, or if it is, it's something obscure enough that they won't come after me, and then I roll into doing it. Otherwise, I'll just look around the room and get like a random thing and make a name out of that.
Like how you named Price.
Exactly like how I named Price.
Price is from a pencil.
Yeah, but it was Price, wasn't it? Like
yeah, I saw Price on like a pencil box or something. It might have been something in French as well. I don't know.
Yeah, Priest.
Yeah, I think it was Priest. And then I was like, that's the name, I guess. Then I did the same thing once with an elf in another game. I couldn't think of a name for her. I ended up calling her Kala because I was drinking a cola at the time. So it was just like, I don't know, Kala with 2 L's. So I don't know. Do you want to generate a name, or do you want to look around the room, whatever room you're in right now, and do you see anything that could make a town name?
Well, what is this town known for? Like he said, like,
well, that's up to us, isn't it?
you have a town full of knights and you named it after knight.
Yeah.
They're known for being colonizers.
This town?
I don't know if this small
Founder
town would... I feel like a town that's full of colonizers would have its own army.
Oh, true.
That's very true. That's very true. Okay, I don't know.
Well, it could be known for something they produce. It might be near a mine. It might be like a fishing town. It might be like a farming town. It might just be like a town that maybe has a bunch of libraries or produces a lot of books or something. Like what sort of thing do you think could be there? It could also be something the goblins are trying to come after. So maybe it has some sort of food stores or something. I don't know.
What do you think?
Oh, like they heal people. Like they have this like plant that could heal people, or something. Maybe the goblins are sick. That's why they're raiding this town.
Ooh,
and
interesting.
they're coming after like to get cured or something.
Okay.
That's interesting.
So the town is mostly mostly like a clerical order. It's largely full of healers and things like that. They're not like combat trained, just enough magic to defend themselves, but they believe they need someone to go and root out these goblins who keep trying to come in and steal their special flower.
Yeah. I like that.
I like that too.
Okay, well, I really like that idea. I don't know if it gives us a name. I don't know.
What's the name of the flower? What's a magical flower out there from like the D&D world, or like?
I mean, we're just making stuff up at this point, so it could be like.
Well, my name is Rose.
Sure,
yeah, it could be some kind of rose.
Rose of rejuvenation. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't want to think of too many things, but I don't know. How do you feel about Rose of Rejuvenation or
I like that.
Rose? I don't know how to combine those two into one word.
Roseburg.
Roseburg, I like that.
Roseburg, yeah.
Roseboro? I feel like Borough is cooler.
Borough, yeah. Borough's cooler.
Yeah, that has more of a small fantasy town feel.
Small town feel.
So Roseboro, with their magic rose, which they're all very jealously guarding because of its curative properties, recently been attacked multiple times by goblin raiders trying to acquire the flower. They haven't been successful yet, but they've caused a lot of damage in the town. So they get a bunch of randos to go deal with the problem. Okay, so there's our plot hook for the day. There's our first plot hook. This town is in trouble and they need some help. And this can be the thing that the players discover when they're going through whatever our dungeon ends up being. They might find out that, oh, there's some sick goblins here if they go off the beaten path a bit. So for the purposes of this, let's figure out what our dungeon is going to be. Now, this can be a lot of things. It can be an underground mine, it can be underground tomb, or something above ground, like an old house or old mansion, old structure. What are you two thinking?
Maybe something that was once great, but then it has been abandoned. So it's kind of like the goblins are like squatting there.
Yeah, some old massive structure like a large cathedral or something like that.
Yeah.
What kind of vibes are you two getting that might be in this area? We've established that they have these healers here. They have this magic flower. Small town. So what kind of structures would be like significant ones that would be like on the edge of town? Or something that would have been worn down that would be on the edge of town?
Well, I think, did you say cathedral before?
Yeah.
Ooh,
Like that's really cool,
healers, yeah.
but I feel like for them that like a place of worship would be really important, right? If they're like clerics or
Oh
whatever.
yeah, because why would they be abandoned?
So maybe they would not abandon it.
That's fair.
What about? Oh my god! Like I feel like this is really ironic. But what if it's like a hospital kind of thing, and like they don't need it anymore because they have the flower.
Yeah.
But like the goblins go live in this
hospital.
abandoned hospital, and like, yeah, they're trying to heal their own sick, but they
don't know science or anything like that.
yeah, they don't have access to what these people have access to.
Sure.
Yeah.
So like a building with maybe more of a, to fit the theme, or the setting rather, maybe more of an alchemical focus on healing, or herbology focus on healing, until the point that they discover, oh hey, we have this magic flower here that we've been growing in the church garden this entire time. So people sort of like more flock towards the town center, I guess, for healing rather than the outlying building.
Like they don't need it anymore.
Like, they don't need doctors anymore.
Because they got magic clerics. Okay, so creepy old hospital. That's cool. I'm enjoying that already.
Yeah.
Okay, so the players are tasked with going to this creepy old hospital. There's some goblins inside. They might find some sick ones. So let's start breaking down the encounters that they might be facing. No, I think 5-ish is a good amount, but we can go more, we can go less. It depends on how big we want to make them. Encounters, of course, don't necessarily have to be like combat, although that's probably the more well-known and more frequently seen of them. They can be something like a trap that slows the players down. It can be a puzzle where they have to stop and think about it. Something that will apply their characters' other skills, other than just, something that includes the numbers that they have on their sheet, other than the to hit and damage numbers. And there can also be some sort of social encounter, some character they have to communicate with, or some other thing they have to communicate with that they need to get past to create progress on their mission.
Well, maybe like a trap, because like if they stop and think, they could see like these guys are not trying to fight, they're literally just trying to defend themselves.
Yeah, and it would make sense because they're like sick. No, well, I was gonna say they're on the edge of the town,
True.
So they're not very far away. Like people could easily come and try and kick them out, but they're just trying to protect themselves.
Okay. So is that what the players are going to be seeing on their way to this place? Are they going to be seeing some defensive traps, some patrols? Like, so let's visualize this. The players, whomever they are, how many there are, they're going through this forest. There's probably some old there's like some old path they're going off of to reach this place. What are they seeing as they approach?
Like spikes or something, like those ones that face outwards, so you can't climb over them and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Are they seeing any are they seeing anyone around who's like standing guard, or what sort of situation is that?
What I'm imagining is that like they try to do that kind of thing, or like they used to, but it's getting to a point where maybe more and more of them are getting sick, and they can't they can't afford to have people out doing that anymore, or something. Like they're gonna fight once you get in there, but I feel like I want them to seem like they're very vulnerable and yeah, they're just trying to defend themselves. They're just trying to not die.
Well, I'm thinking like even like if you stop and investigate the traps, that they look worn and old. And it's unguarded too, right? So it's like,
yeah, they're just trying to like give off the image like, don't come in here, like, yeah. Please leave us alone.
Okay, so yeah, there might be like, because we don't know what the party composition is going to be, so we don't know if they'll have like a rogue or some other form of trap expert, but that can be some sort of thing that you as the GM of this game can decide as they're coming through. Hey, there's someone in this party who might have the specific knowledge to pick up on something is off here about these traps. So you can have them roll some sort of knowledge check to analyze those. Otherwise, it might be something you roll into a perception check. That's something that I like to do when I have like some very specific thing, is like I'll have all the players roll perception. Here's another pro tip. Making everyone roll perception is a great way to stall while you think of what's going to happen next. Because then everyone would stop and do math. It was like, just give me like 5 seconds. Like, you're doing something completely different than what I wanted. So give me a moment to catch up with you. Everybody should just freeze. But while you have everybody rolling those perception checks, if there's something very specific that no one has the skill for, if someone just like really knocks it out of the park with perception, if they get like a crit or whatever, then that's a good place to sort of insert those clues. And then you can just really like try to seed those hints, like not nudge your players towards what you want them to know. Well, I guess nudge is the right word, but don't push them towards what you want them to know. Okay, so I opened up the bestiary here, and I just wanted to look at some goblins that they have. They do have some like really low level, like level -1 goblins here. So I'm thinking those might be more the kind you'll see outside. And again, if someone's like analyzing them, trying to watch the patrols, they really nail that perception check or some other knowledgeable check, they might pick up on if the goblins are kind of like sickly looking, a little bit of weak looking. Mechanically, again, as a DM, you can just make them exhausted or something like that.
Right.
Okay. So is there anything else you want to add to the outside of this space? We've got some basic spike traps that might be out and obvious. There's maybe some low-level goblins patrolling. Are there other kinds of traps? What else? Is there anything else that they might have out there? Is there anything that might be part of the original structure that might be out there?
I'm thinking of like a sign. Like, what language do goblins speak? Do they speak like the common?
Some of them are smart enough to. I mean, I guess it depends on if it's like a player character goblin, because then it would. But I assume most of them just speak goblin.
Oh, I just want a sign that says like, "Please keep out." Like you don't have to crack that. Just like, "Please stay out. Don't come in." Kind of.
Okay, so maybe it is.
Traps don't work.
So maybe it would be written in Goblin. So again, that's the thing that like some specific players might have knowledge of, or some of them only see it as keep out. They don't see the please. Because to me, like, I don't want to make it too obvious.
Obvious, yeah, true.
I don't want to. I don't want to like take your idea from you, but like I'm thinking it shouldn't be too obvious.
True.
What the situation is.
What if it just says keep out, and then like they might take that as like
a warning.
Yeah. But it's not meant to be a warning. It's just like, I don't know, maybe that's the only common they know or something.
Oh yeah, it could be.
True.
True. Okay.
Perceive that differently, yeah.
So that's great. So we've got our traps, we've got our creatures, and we've got our hints that something is amiss here. So let's say the players get inside somehow, either stealthing their way in or attacking the creatures. Do we want these creatures to have anything on them? Or are they doing anything special combat-wise? How do you feel about that?
I'm kind of thinking, like, since our town is, like, full of magical kind of people, like, I don't know if I want the goblins to be magical, like, maybe more, like, melee and ranged, and, like, just basic stuff, I guess, not non-magical.
Okay.
Like basic weapons. Is that a class of weapons?
Yeah, no, there's simple weapons, there's martial weapons, there's just goblins not using magic. They do tend to lean more towards alchemy, from my understanding of Pathfinder 2.
Oh yeah, I think I made the thing like fire, like they like to make bombs, no? Grenades.
So
well, I think that's okay still, just maybe not magic. Like, because that's like the old way of healing or whatever that this town did to anyway, right? So maybe they haven't caught up to like the magic stuff, but it's not like they're useless or whatever.
They just don't know magic. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so the players find their way in through these couple of goblins. What are they going to see inside as they step into like the hospital foyer, however it's pronounced?
I think, well, depending on how big this place is, they'd probably be like trying to hide like at the back or, away from the main entrance, or at least most of them. Like they might encounter a few goblins in the main area. I don't know, but I feel like most of them would be hiding.
Okay. Well, this is, I'm kind of visualizing like a much larger, like a large room, a large space. And this is inside where the goblins have made their home. So they might have some more creative traps here. So
yeah, right.
That's kind of what I'm thinking, like what kind of other things that they have here.
I like those stuff, like when you open a door and then like a thing would come from above.
Yeah, those are cool.
So some
like
sort
maybe
of
if you actually make it in the door.
Yeah. And then...
Okay, so some sort of like door trap that like automatically goes off when someone just opens the door.
Like Home Alone.
Like, yeah, I mean the players are basically the bandits from Home Alone at this point. What else might be in there? It also could be some sort of like creature in there, like non-goblin creature, something they've tamed. I don't know, giant spiders or whatever. Whatever creature. I mean, it's a fantasy world, so it could be anything. But whatever wild creature a goblin might have tamed, or maybe they have a larger one, wherever a boss fight would be, quote unquote.
Is there anything like in like goblin lore that they typically
like
train or work with or something? That's a magic thing.
Oh, familiar is a magic thing.
I want to say wargs, but that might have just been like a one-time thing. I might just be thinking of like literally something else. No, I'm thinking of kobolds. I don't know. Nothing is immediately coming to mind, but I feel like we can just work it in if we have to.
What about something like wild dogs or something? Or I guess they're not wild, but some kind of dog thing, or wolves or something.
Wolves sound good.
Sure, we can put that in. I mean, again, this is our thing that we're making up. We can make edits to the lore if we need to. If something doesn't fit, it's probably fine, because our concern isn't, like, I guess, adhering strictly to this lore. It's just making this one shot. So what would the goblins bring in there to help them guard the place? They'd bring in whatever creatures they can train. Is it wild wolves or dogs or whatever? Sure, why not?
Okay.
So on the inside, maybe there's some dogs patrolling, maybe one goblin keeping an eye on them, and they have traps on the doors coming in, and presumably the doors leaving this foyer.
Yeah.
Okay. So here's where things are going to get a bit more, I guess, interesting. So what we need to figure out is, so we've got one encounter outside, which is some traps and some bad guys. And then inside we have some, well, quote unquote bad guys. Some traps and some goblins, let's say. directly inside some traps, some goblins, some trained dogs, or something like that. Where do we expect to go from there? Because the two things we need to do, the players have been assigned the task of just wipe out the goblins. So presumably the players are just going to keep moving through rooms, taking down goblins. But there's the secondary unknown task of like learning why the goblins are really here. So what is the next step from moving from the foyer? As they move on, what's the next thing they're going to see? Is it going to be like more of the goblins, more of the traps, or something that shows, hey, the goblins aren't doing so hot here?
Yeah, I would imagine like maybe there's like an area where they're like treating the goblins who are the most sick.
Yeah, I was thinking something
like their own little hospital kind of thing. Like not the whole hospital that they're in, but like just a little area with the most sick. And then like if you stumble upon that, you'll see like maybe these people are like they're not even gonna try and fight back, or if they do, they're very weak or something, you know.
Well, I was thinking like the most sick is like the most heavily guarded stuff, the room, because like you want to protect your sick, right? I feel like as each room progresses, like the sicker the people get, the sicker the goblin gets, like in a hospital, just like acuity levels of like how sick someone is. I don't know.
Okay. It could be that, because you are right in saying that they want to protect it the most. So the first thing that I was thinking of was that as the goblins are getting sicker towards like closer to the sick room, the traps are getting more dangerous and the trained creatures are getting more dangerous, but the goblins seem like notably weaker. They probably maybe the ones outside would actually be the strongest ones, because they don't want them exposed to whatever's going on. And then as you go through, like the goblins, they get sicker and sicker, getting closer towards like the ones who are feeling the worst as this disease or whatever it is spreads out. But they know it needs more protection, so they'll put like, here's some more dangerous traps, here's the bigger wolf or whatever.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's good.
Sounds good.
So are we thinking just like a singular path of progression through these rooms? Do we want to have like split paths, or?
Yeah, I was imagining like from the big entrance room, there'd be like a few doorways off to the side, or like a hallway or something with a few rooms.
Right. And those could be like bedrooms or armories or something. So like what might people find in there? Because I don't know, like I very rarely do like dungeons. This is more of Ramon's area. But I'm thinking like if something's off to the side a bit, there could be something special in there. Like, hey, you found a really cool weapon that these goblins got off somebody. Or you found some potions that are lying around. Some old healing potions from the original hospital.
Potions.
Yeah, because like I guess if they know alchemy stuff, then they'd probably have like a store of stuff to fight back with, or potions, or bombs or something.
Okay. So would those rooms also be protected by traps then? Or do you have any sort of different traps you want to try out?
What if there's some kind of alchemical trap? Like, I don't know how that would work, but like the door thing, maybe it's the door activated thing and it drops a like acid or something on you.
But then like what if other goblins went in that room? If they activate the trap?
Well, maybe they know how to like disarm it.
Yeah, I mean, they would have to have a way to get in the room without setting off the trap, so it could be the door thing that, for one, the players would already have experience with from the front door, so they know what to look for if they want to... Like, if they are the kind of player who's like, let's not open that door right away, we just went through a trap, let's inspect the door and see if there's another trap on it. Or if they're the kind of player who's just like, boom, slam open the door, well then, boom, the trap's gonna go off.
Right. Or like, what if there's like one of the dogs is in here, like maybe chained up or something, so it can't like run right at them, but it would start barking or not let them get close to where the interesting stuff is. Yeah. But like, since the goblins know the animal or have it trained or whatever, it won't attack them.
Oh yeah, okay, yeah, that's definitely something that was like, no goblins are gonna set this thing off. If you have a goblin in the party, maybe even better. As well as, depending on how they're approaching this could be something that like ruins their stealthy approach to the problem if they're doing it stealthily.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Like having something that alerts everyone that you're here.
Compromised.
Yeah,
Wouldn't they get alerted by the door opening and the trap getting activated?
I guess.
Also
But
true.
I was just gonna say, like, it's like, oh, they're in now. Like, they're even further in, or they're in that room with
Mhm.
the potions or whatever.
Yeah. Like with stealth things, something that I've read a lot but haven't got a chance to do much of myself is having multiple points of failure. Like approaching it, I guess, the same way you would like a stealth game where someone might get spotted in a game, but they have a way to either re-hide or the enemies are just like, oh, someone's here, and now I'm going to look around, as opposed to just being passive. So if they somehow found a stealthy way in, you can put this thing in. You can have different points, and even just around the room, you can have like, oh, there's broken glass, there's creaky floorboards. It's something that'll like alert people if the players are doing this stealthily.
Should we also have like another way that they could come in? Because like, what if they don't want to come in the front door? Because like that's
For
seems
sure.
too obvious.
For sure. So again, like the description of them getting to the place was just traveling down this path. If someone stops to inspect and look for another way in, what are they going to see?
I'm imagining like windows or maybe a back door, something like that. What if like since the building's old, maybe there's like a spot where there's like a really weak spot in the wall, or like a hole, something like that.
Like a hidden entrance?
No, it's not even meant to be an entrance. Like they can just kind of break in easily and come in that way.
Yeah. So that's another thing. Like you can find, oh hey, here's a hidden entrance that goes away from those traps, but going in will make a lot of noise or something like that. Like you want to have the balance of, like when you're presenting options, you want to have this has a good thing but a bad part, and this is a good thing but a bad part. Like one might be faster or slower, one might be louder or quieter, one might be more dangerous or have more enemies or something like that. So maybe this other way, like there's less bad guys, but you have to find it first off, and it might make more noise. Something like that.
Yeah. Yeah, that sounds cool.
Or do you have any others? Like, say they found like a window or something. What would be like the good and bad things about getting in through a window instead?
Maybe it's not big enough.
True. Maybe like the bigger characters can't fit through the window.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, not big enough for like a full-size, medium-sized character. It has to be like a small character to get through it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, that
but
works.
then if they have to like make the opening, then the goblins would be alerted that someone's trying to break in.
And that's an interesting way to create the other challenge of like splitting up the party slightly, because now instead of having one party at full power, you've got two parties at half power. So what happens if one of them gets caught by the slightly stronger goblins outside? Okay, any other ideas for points of entry? Or do we want to get back to the inside?
Yeah, I think let's go back to the inside.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've got 3 points of entry. So we got the main door, we've got one you can break down, or we got like a small window. They lead to we got a foyer. I don't know. I'm losing my mind on how to pronounce foyer. But for the purposes of this, all paths lead to the foyer, and then from there things split out again. So so we got the foyer. We had some dogs in there. We had some traps. It has access to an armory, which has its own trap. Let's say what's going on in the hallways? Are there more traps in the hallways?
Well, I guess like leading towards wherever the like the people who are the most sick are. Yeah, it would probably be the most guarded, right? So maybe in that hallway. I don't know about the other one. I'm not sure.
Maybe like someone would try to like initiate contact with them.
Combat?
Does it have to be combat though?
No, it doesn't have to be. What else could it be? Like, what if one like a goblin comes up and tries to
talk to them?
Yeah, talk to them and like ask them for mercy, like, here's our situation or something, and then they have the option, like they could just kill this person, but or they could listen.
So this person is the goblin armed though?
I I feel like it would make sense for them to be armed and like ready to fight, but
Mm-hmm.
they're gonna try first to talk.
Because we're getting closer to the most guarded, right?
Sure.
Yeah.
So is that a thing that you want like directly in the player's path? Is that something that should be off the path? Because again, like we didn't want to make it super obvious right up front that hey, the goblins aren't all that they've been said to be. So
what if like
Yep.
What if there's like a room where they're all sleeping, like there's a bunch of sleeping bags or whatever on the ground, and like maybe one person is sleeping or something, and then if they're woken up, then they're the ones who would. But then they're not like armed. So they're just in
I mean,
bed.
they could be
Exactly.
sleeping with like a weapon nearby or something like that.
I suppose, yeah.
Because then it's a
And then
matter
like if the
of
players, if the players attack the person right away, like if they're not able, if the goblin's not able to get their weapon, like they could just kill this person without them having a chance to speak. You know, they might not find out what they have to say.
Exactly. Like I am maybe I'm sadistic for doing this, but I am envisioning that there is a path that the players can go through where they do not at all discover like any of what's important about the goblins. Like I do want to have that there. It might be unlikely, but I kind of want to have that as just a reality of the world. Maybe I don't know if that's a weird way to put it, but just like something that could happen. Because it's not like necessary that players will learn everything about everything right away.
Yeah.
So there has to be an option to not learn it, unless it's like a very significantly important thing that's like going to set them on a certain quest path where you can say, well, they do learn this thing, it just takes a bit more time. I want this to be a thing that's totally missable.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea. I like that.
Okay. So the hallways will have a way where you can go off, and then you find like their bedroom area where you can either learn more or just attack them. So
Yeah.
can we squeeze a puzzle in here somewhere? Something that they have to figure out. That isn't necessarily like a trap to get around, but more of a brainy thing.
Yeah, I'd like to. I'm just not sure. Like what kind of, because puzzles, I'm just thinking about like, a slidey puzzle to unlock a door. Like what kind of puzzles could we do that aren't maybe like the puzzle you might think of, like when you think of the word puzzle, you know?
This is like an old hospital, right? So there could be some sort of like alchemical thing to figure out, like you need to pour a certain chemical into a certain beaker to open a certain door, and maybe that's where they have like the sickest goblins.
Right.
Or it could be, like it could be like a chemical thing. It could be some they don't have magic, right? So some sort of like minor technological thing, like more mechanical thing, I guess. Do you like something like that? What do you think? Do you have any like?
I like the idea of having like a secret room. I don't know if it would make sense to have like a room behind a bookcase, but something kind of like that I think is really cool.
Yeah.
And then they have to find maybe like I don't know about a switch. Like I don't know if that's very puzzly, but yeah, something they have to do to open the door, and they don't even know yet that there's a door there.
So like as they're traveling, they get to a point where they're at a dead end, but it seems like the direction they should be going in. So they stop here, and then they have to figure out some way to get some secret door that they're unaware of opened up.
Yeah.
Presumably using some sort of knowledge or something.
Yeah. I'm not sure what they would have to do, or like what kind of trap this could be, or not trap, but puzzle.
I mean, it would have to be something like location appropriate. That's why I was thinking alchemy, but I don't know if you have anything, or if you want to like, let's do an alchemy trap, but it works like this, or something like that. Or alchemy puzzle, I should say. It could also be something as simple as like that puzzle from Die Hard that was also in Math Circus, probably, where you gotta like got those two vials, one that fits 3 liters of water, one that fits 5, and you gotta get 4 liters of water to fill in one of the things. It was a whole thing. But I don't know, something that like requires just different solving than the typical roll to get around this trap, roll to hit this enemy kind of thing. I don't know if you have any ideas for that, or if you just want to like put a placeholder there and then we go on. Because like if this was an actual planning, then if I couldn't think of anything right away, I'd just say like puzzle here and then try to figure out the other stuff that I can do and then come back to it. So I don't know if you want to do that and then come back to it, or...
Yeah, I mean, I don't really know what to do at this point. Maybe we'll move on.
Okay. Cam, did you want to add anything there, or should we get to the boss fight? Quote unquote.
Boss fight.
Okay, boss fight. So we were saying that this is where I guess like the most exhausted or most sick goblins would be. But they might have some different abilities. How do you feel about that?
I think that's cool. That could be more interesting instead of just like a bunch of weak ass goblins.
Yeah. And again, like they're non-magical, but they could be carrying like very strong weapons. They could have a more diverse set of weapons, like crossbows or whatever. They could be more prepared. They could have bombs. So what are we thinking is going to be in the boss room? Keeping in mind that they also have like trained creatures as well.
I want long-range weapons because they don't really want a physical confrontation, right?
Right.
And then maybe some kind of creature or two or something that are like a higher level than the ones we've faced so far. Something bigger, something more dangerous.
Like a dire wolf or something, if we're using wolves still. Could also be switched out for some sort of like just general larger creature than what we've been facing so far.
What is it? The griffin manticore. Can they get that?
Can they tame that? I don't know.
I don't know. These are level 1 goblins that are also sick.
Yeah, I don't know about that.
I don't know, maybe. Well, I mean,
maybe
this was supposed to be like a low level situation. So I don't know if a manticore would be too powerful for like a party of level 1 or level 2 characters to face.
Yeah. I think a direwolf is cool though.
But I mean, cool idea. We can save manticore for like another game. There's definitely times where you're like, oh, I want the players to fight this kind of creature, but it doesn't fit here. So let me just keep that in mind, and then anywhere else I could bring it up or make a new situation where it can apply. Definitely do that.
Yeah. Okay. Cool.
So do you want to have direwolf, or do you want to have something else, or what are you thinking here?
Direwolf is okay.
Yeah, direwolf. Is there any way that they could like do something with alchemy to make it stronger or something like that?
Definitely. I mean, this is again the power of being a DM. You can take the direwolf stats, but say, well, I want the goblins who are these alchemical experts, just not in healing. So they might have found a way to make this thing stronger. Like, oh, its teeth are a bit sharper, so it might do more damage. Like, it might roll a different die. It might add a bit more because it's stronger. It might be just a bit faster. It might, I don't know, it might have like you can take abilities from other creatures. There's drakes, which are sort of like these small draconic creatures, and some of them have the ability to spit like acid or whatever. And that's a thing that I kind of like, because it spits the acid. Everyone has to make a reflex save to get away from it into a certain area, and then it'll have the acid ability again within like 1d6 turns, I believe it is. So it's like a random number of turns, however many it gets back. That's one thing I like. So we could like take that and say, instead of doing acid damage, it does fire damage. That is
Can
like,
it do fire damage? Is it goblins?
I mean, like, I don't know, like whatever you want it to do. That's just like you can take abilities from other creatures that have been like statted for those creatures, and then just put them on this new one to make it function the way that you want it to, is what I'm suggesting. So how do you want to, I guess, like alchemically enhance this wolf?
What about like, so it's more protected, like it has thicker skin or like more hit points, something like that?
Sure.
Or a higher AC.
Harder to hit too.
Yeah, higher AC, right?
Yeah, definitely. It depends on what kind of feel you want it to have. Like, if you want it to be the kind of thing, like it seems like its skin is stronger or whatever, so you raise the AC a bit, and during combat you'll describe, like, every time someone misses, because of its higher AC, you can describe, like, you feel like you've hit this thing pretty strongly, but it's able to shake off the blow. If you increase its hit points, then it can be something like you continue to strike at this creature, but it's still standing defiantly before you. Like, whatever kind of vibe you want it to be, like, it's still standing because the skin is tougher, or it's still standing because there's, like, a tougher, like, will or constitution or whatever. Like, whatever direction you want to take that particular thing in.
I like the higher AC.
Okay.
That's cool.
So yeah, the goblins came in, they enhanced these creatures to have, like, slightly higher AC. And you could also, like, knock something else down a bit just for the sake of balance. Like, they might have lower HP at that point, or something else, or lower hit chance maybe. If you feel a need to balance it out, then you can do something like that.
Okay.
But that really depends on, like, how much you want to raise their AC and stuff. Like, if it's just 1 or 2 even, then you might not have to worry about that. If it's more than 2, then I would say at that point, then put some sort of negative on it.
Yeah.
Because then you've decreased the chance of someone hitting it by, like, I don't know. I would have to, like, actually brain out the math, but depending what result they get on the die, they have, like, a 5% chance for any result on the die. If you increase the thing by 2, then there's 2 less chances, so 10% less chance to destroy this creature. So at that point, I would say, like, put some of the negative on it. But definitely, okay, so they've got the dire wolves, they've got a higher AC. What else do they have in here? With the ranged weapons as well.
Yeah, I would say there's at least a few goblins, like some of the stronger ones. I don't know, maybe they have shifts in, like, switching between this room and, like, the outside.
Yeah.
But they're in here to, like, protect, like, as, like, one of the final what do you want to call it, like, the final,
like, final guard or final boss, or, like, what do you mean?
Yeah, just, like, their last protection. Like, you know, they were hoping you wouldn't get to this point, but you're here now, so, like, this is all they have left, kind of thing.
Right, okay. So they're stronger, but they're also still, like, sicker, if that's... Okay, so we've got some goblins. Some of them are stronger than the others, but they still are following the same track of sickness. We've got some of them that have ranged weapons. They can be towards, like, the back of the room. We have some of the wolves who are slightly enhanced to have, like, just a bit higher AC. Do we want anything else in this room? Any traps? Or do we want to go on to the player rewards? Quote-unquote rewards.
I also had another idea for, like, we're going back a bit here, I guess, but, like, something else, like, the players might find at that gives them a clue that something's up.
Yeah.
Like, what if they find, I don't know, somewhere outside in the back or something where they keep, like, some of their dead. You just find, like, some dead goblins.
Oh, for sure. Again, as people are coming up and they roll that perception check to look for a way in, or roll that perception check to see what's going on, they might catch a whiff of it, or they might even see it if they move far enough. Depending on how you want to describe the entire situation, that's definitely something that can exist, yeah.
Yeah, like, oh, that's kind of weird. Why are there dead goblins here? Like, you know?
Yeah.
Okay. And then...
I'm thinking, is this sickness, like, just within goblins, or it could, like, interspecies?
Oh, sorry. I mean, what am I doing? That's up to you two.
What if it's, like, it can cross species, but, like, it's more deadly for goblins? Like, maybe it's not deadly for other other races or whatever, but it could still make them sick or something.
Okay. So at that point, when they get into this room where it has the most sick people, should the players then be rolling some sort of save, like, I guess, fortitude saves? The longer they stay in this room.
I think that's a good idea, yeah.
Okay, so that's, again, another challenge you can throw into this battle. There might be a lot of things at once for a first-level party, but I'm sure they can handle it. So what happens, I guess, in the process of this battle? Because by this point, there's a couple ways it can go. Either the players are just going to attack directly, or they have some knowledge at this point that there's something more going on here. So how is this going to... Let's put the first one aside for a bit, because we know how that'll go. The players fight, and they win or they die. So, what about the secondary option? Like, is there a way to communicate to solve this problem?
What if someone gets sick and then they only started getting sick when they entered this building?
But what if they don't?
Yeah,
Then,
true.
like, that's an option, but if no one gets sick, then what can they, like...
Yeah, I mean, this is all ifs. This is all the players at this point are interested enough in what's going on with the goblins to not want to kill all of them. So we can have plenty of ifs here. We can have someone got sick, they don't know why.
Yeah.
I'm thinking,
or
like, is there a
possibly
goblin they talk to? Is there some sort of leader they talk to? Or
like
how does that conversation go?
Maybe somebody else tries to ask them again, like, please don't do this, or, like, we're just trying to survive, yeah.
Maybe, like, the main guy doesn't really want to talk, like, the strongest but still sick. Because, like, before he fights, he's, like, trying to initiate conversation. It's like, it seems like he doesn't really want to do it.
So, like, a situation where, like, there are some goblins who, like, want to attack and defend themselves, but there's some that will, like, try to communicate, and maybe that's going to cause some more confusion and cause an issue in the communication.
Yeah, I can see how, like, some of them would only want to fight and like, not bother talking because you're here in their home and they're threatened, but others might be patient enough to try and talk about it,
But they know they're sick. Like, do they really stand a chance if they have to fight?
Yeah, like, what if there's some...
Are they all sick?
I'm guessing, or mostly anyway. But, like, what if there's some that don't fight back? Like, could that be a clue?
Yeah, that could also itself be, like, we are planting these seeds, planting these clues. That could also be one of them. Like, the players could discover the truth at the last moment here.
Like, they don't even raise a weapon or something. They're just there and they got attacked. I don't know.
Yeah.
That's okay. So at this point, there's going to be some that aren't raising their weapons, and also some that might communicate if the players try to. So let's deal with, I guess, the end of this dungeon. What would the player's reward be? So I guess let's deal with the two major endings that at least I'm seeing is, like, total wipeout and sort of a peaceful negotiation. So should the players just take out all the goblins, what would their, I guess, reward be?
Something really shitty. Because that should also be the clue at the end. Like, you fucked up.
But I think, like, the town, whoever gave them the job to do this, would probably have some kind of reward, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a given. When they get back, they'll get paid or whatever.
Right.
I was thinking, like, what can they immediately get if they kill all the goblins? What can they immediately get if they negotiate peace with the goblins?
So if they kill them all, I feel like they would get weapons, they'd get potions, like, whatever's here. That, like, I feel like the goblins don't have a lot, but whatever they have, they can have access to all that.
Do they even have money?
I don't know. Maybe not.
It depends.
They're not living in, like, this society, are they?
But they might be just collecting shiny things because they're goblins.
Yeah.
That's true. Maybe they'll have, like, a small amount of money.
Yeah. Yeah, they might also have, like, a semi-decent weapon. Like, the leader might have, like, I don't know, would it have a +1 weapon? Maybe. I mean, again, this will go back to how you want to balance out the combat. If the leader has, like, a +1 weapon, then maybe there's only, like, one enhanced direwolf or less crossbow guys, depending on how you want to balance out that combat. Okay, so that's if they kill them all and they get all the stuff, and there's going to be at least one cool weapon in there and some amount of gold or shiny stuff like gems.
Yeah.
What do they get if they negotiate peace with the goblins? If they realize, oh, the goblins are sick, they just want the rose from Roseburg just to help cure what's going on here. What's going to be the result of that?
Could they have, like, a relationship of some kind that the goblins are under their debt because they helped heal them?
Sure.
And, like, what if they give them, or, like, they're willing to make them some alchemy thing, like
Mm-hmm.
we can give you potions or something like that.
Bombs.
Yeah.
They could. Again, I don't want to insert my ideas too much, but they could give the players the reward of the same potion they used to enhance the wolf, maybe.
True. True.
Which
That's
is
cool,
probably
yeah.
some kind of like bark skin potion or whatever. If I'm remembering how bark skin works. I'm probably not. But so they can negotiate for the chemical reward, but they can't get it if all the goblins are dead, because they just gave their last dose to that wolf.
Right. And they can't make more because they're dead.
Exactly. Okay, so the players have wrapped up there. They've either got cool sword or they've got cool potion, and goblins that owe them a debt and can make them more. So they return to the town of Roseburg, and I guess they just make their report of what's happened. At that point, what are you expecting to happen when they return to town?
So what I'm thinking is, like, if they end up going with the, like, make a deal with the goblins, don't kill them all route, maybe, like, there could be the opportunity for them to try and negotiate with the people in the town, like, let them know what happened and that all they want is, like, some healing stuff, and, they could try and cut a deal for the goblins to get what they need and not keep trying to steal it.
How agreeable do you feel like the town would be toward that?
Well, I'm thinking like when they said like the goblins went there to raid, maybe they were asking for help, but then they just assumed that they were there to raid because they're goblins.
Sure.
So do you think they would?
I think they'd be very biased, I think.
So maybe it's like hard to convince them, but you can try.
Yeah.
Okay. So just thinking from the purpose of mechanics, like I would like put this at like probably a higher DC persuasion or diplomacy or whatever it's called in this game. I never remember, but sort of a higher check on that end, unless you bring something back that can help make it a bit easier. But the approach would be then to sort of go back to town and say, hey, can we get a sample of your flour to help out these goblins or something like that?
Maybe like they brought home like a dead goblin and like, hey, autopsy them and see like you're telling the truth.
That's an option, I guess.
Okay. So say they succeed at this, because I'm thinking if they fail at this, then the town's just going to be like pissed off and tell them to, kick rocks, get out of here. But if they succeed at this, what do they get out of it?
Well, whatever they get from helping the goblins, and then...
Yeah, like, do they get anything from the town, I mean?
Yeah, no, I know. And then maybe the town could...
Give them a seed of the rose so they could grow the rose for themselves.
Something like that. Or, what was I going to say? Maybe they'd give them the money anyway, or part of it, because, like, they still solved the problem. The goblins aren't coming into their town anymore. But, like, they didn't kill them.
Sure, it could be, I mean, I don't know, I keep inserting, but it could be that they'll still need some gold to help manage their farm, especially if they're going to be giving away a portion of the flowers to these goblins, essentially for free on their end. So it could be a thing where, like, the players might get a part of the reward, but they did bring a peaceful ending to this and got that chemical reward from the goblins. Or they have the option of ending it with a more violent end, where they get the full gold reward as well as that more powerful weapon from the goblins.
Mm-hmm.
How does that sound?
Yeah, I like that. Or I guess there's always the option they could also, like, violently take flowers from the town.
Violence is always an option, yes.
Yeah.
It's definitely a possibility. It's depending on the kind of players you're working with, who would just go back and then just take it by force if that's what they want to do.
Yeah.
And that's a thing that you might just have to roll with. Like, again, as a DM, like, not even that. Like, a very small amount of your plans are going to survive first contact with the players. That's something we say continuously, because you can plan something out. You can say, well, the situation will probably end one of two ways. And you might get something like that, but you might also not. So while it can be helpful to plan ahead for things, if you plan too many, you might find yourself restricted. All of this is just improv, really. structured improv, but improv nonetheless. But okay, so we've got the plot hook. The town of Roseburg needs help dealing with some goblins. We've got the dungeon, this old ancient building that used to be a hospital that the goblins have taken over. And we've got the travel of the dungeon. There's some goblins outside, some traps. There's multiple ways in. There's multiple paths they can go with like their armory, their bedroom, and things like that. There's unique kind of traps in there. And there's a boss encounter that can end a couple of different ways. I think we've got a pretty good outline for a one-shot here. Of course, we can go in and start like making a map and getting the creature stats and things like that. But I think right now what we have is a pretty good idea to work off of. And you can even do like theater of the mind kind of combat when you get into that situation.
Yeah, that's really cool.
So it is just, I don't know, it's as easy as that. Hopefully people get from this the idea of how like it's not super difficult to do like building a one shot if you just think of it in terms of like what are some like just approach it from the terms of like what's something I can get these people to fight and what's a twist I can put on it. And you don't even need the twist. It could have all just been straight up like goblins are bad guys, go deal with them.
Yeah.
But I think we did good. Is there anything else you two want to add to it? Because I'm pretty happy with where we ended up, if I'm being honest.
Yeah, I'm happy with it. I'm really proud of us. I think we came up with something kind of interesting.
Cam, did you have anything you wanted to add?
No, I'm good.
All right, awesome. Well, if you all enjoyed that episode, just drop a like on the video, and be sure to subscribe and ring the notification bell so you get a notification every time you upload an episode or every time you go live. We usually go live with Lancer every now and then. And we put up new episodes every week, every Wednesday at noon EST. If you want to know more about us, visit our website, winwithdice.ca, and be sure to follow us on the socials, Twitter and Facebook at winwithdice. Also, a quick shout out to our friends at the Untold Stories Project, where I will be appearing there for still a few more Wednesdays, playing some Fallout. They're a really cool bunch of people, so I hope you check them out. And I think that's about it for us. And I don't know. Do you have anything special to say before we leave?
Violence is not always the answer.
It's the question, and the answer is yes.
And then I would just say, things are not always as they seem. Ooh. Like in the case of our goblins here.
And I would say that the most important thing to remember is to keep on winning with dice. That's the best advice I can give anybody, really. And that's our episode. See y'all next week. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.